So we're being asked, basically, in this question, if you translate it to plain English, what numbers, plural, it's an inequality, there are a lot of different possibilities, what numbers have an absolute value that is bigger than or equal to 2? It's a little difficult to think about this without following the normal steps of solving this. Is there anything outside the absolute value here? Yes or no? No, there's nothing outside the absolute value. So, if this was any other absolute value equation, we'd say now is the time that we would split this in two. We would solve something for positive 2 and something for negative 2. But we do not have an equal sign. We have an inequality symbol, greater than or equal to. Here's the way it works. Now that I've split this, x is no longer inside the absolute value bars. But when this 2 becomes negative, we're going to flip it around. So this one will still be greater than or equal to. This will now have to be less than or equal to. And here's where it gets a little more complicated. We are supposed to represent this as one continuous inequality if we can. We are also supposed to graph this on a number line. But the problem we will run into is it is not always clear. If we are supposed to just make two circles and connect them, or if they're supposed to point in opposite directions, or if they're supposed to overlap and be all real numbers, it's not really that easy to tell without starting to graph it. So for this one, let's just begin the graph. Let's go ahead and draw your number line. There's 0, here's 2, here's negative 2. Both of these are underlined, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, so they will both be solid dots. If it was supposed to be greater than 2, everything would point to the right. If it's supposed to be less than or equal to negative 2, everything will point to the left. So for this one, nothing overlapped, and we don't really have to think it through. So for this one, we're all set. They point in opposite directions. You can check this by testing numbers that are in between. If you're ever unsure, pick a number. 0. Let's try 0. Is 0 greater than or equal to 2? No. 0 is not bigger than 2. 0 is not equal to 2. Is 0 less than or equal to negative 2, though? Still no. 0 is not smaller than negative 2. 0 is not equal to negative 2. So we have done this correctly. This area should be empty on our graph.